What is up, everybody? It's 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Home Theater Fanatics Live. Tonight is episode 107, and we have a monster of an episode for you. Today's guest is Cody Hebert from Harbottle Audio Company, and if you want to know about speakers, if you want to know about amplifiers, if you want to know how to do things right, he's the guy who knows how to do all those things. You know, I've seen some of his stuff, not up and close and personal, but I've seen photos, and man, it is pretty dang cool. Anyway, Cody, welcome to the episode. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, glad to have you on. First time on the show with us, so I'm really happy I was able to snag you. And a lot of people have been really excited. They're like, we want to know about these subwoofers. We want to know about these speakers. We want to know what's up with the name and the logo and all the good stuff that's going on. But I think maybe a good way to get started is maybe you can tell us a little bit about you. You know, you don't have to write the whole autobiography, but you know, maybe enough to kind of introduce yourself and let people know why you got into this crazy audio game, right? So how did you change from mild-mannered, whatever you were doing before, to the hardcore audio guy? So how does that happen?
Well, when I was young, I started off playing music, and I played drums, guitar, bass, and I tried singing and that sort of thing. And I always found that like music reproduction was, you know, very difficult to mimic what you experience when you're playing in a band. And eventually I started making a whole bunch of money, and I bought a bunch of gear, and it didn't reflect what I experienced as a drummer. So I ended up becoming very disillusioned, and I walked away from hi-fi for quite a while. And I got into business development, and I would work with companies and kind of critiquing their manufacturing processes and plugging fiscal leaks. You know, trying to like help them become more solvent and more grounded as a business. And that led me through some very strange paths, and I ended up meeting Funk Audio. And back then it was known as Funky Waves Audio. And we started...
Hold on. Time out. He was known as what?
Funky Waves Audio. It was something that him and his cousin, I believe, they came up with it when they were young. And it just kind of stuck for a while. And when I met him, he was just on this fire. Like he wasn't necessarily a hobbyist. It's not that funny.
Funk Audio is cool. Funky Waves Audio. You should have told anybody that. You messed up.
Okay, no. Back up. Cut him some slack. He started when he was like 14 building speakers.
Makes sense.
So I mean, you know, there's kind of that, you know, growth through adolescence happening within his own company. Anyways, we rebranded, and I started working with him not necessarily design work, but implementing processes to help him make money. Like it was just kind of a hobby type of business. It was a side business at the time, and he was making money doing other things. And I started consulting him. Like after the business development stopped, I started consulting him afterwards. And through that process, I learned a lot about audio. I learned a lot about the science, the engineering, everything that would go into making the system and the speaker work the way they should and behave the way they should. And so I just started soaking it all up and just taking it in. And eventually through, some circumstances, I was able to buy a couple of designs, consult on a bunch of design work with Nathan, and we started building a lot of really, high performance audio. That's kind of my whole shtick. It's just where we're focused and centered on high performance, and nothing really matters outside of that. And so we don't sacrifice everything in the name of performance. We do like to keep some cosmetics. Like if you look at my stuff, you look at Nathan's stuff, where we do like a nice looking piece of equipment.
Oh, you keep it good looking. There's no doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's crazy good looking.
Yeah, my approach on that is we keep it very, very straight ahead, and there's one finish. There's one particular profile look that we're going for, and then that is the backdrop to the performance aspect.
Got it. Okay, so that all makes sense, and yeah, that's cool. I didn't know about the whole music history and all of that background for you. So now that Harbottle is a thing, right? I want to dig into that and talk a little bit about the products and kind of the process that you use to design and build your equipment. But quickly before that, just a shout out to some folks. Hi-Fi Haven is on the show. Hey man, welcome. He's another local Denver guy here with me, and we both have been digging out of the snow for a couple of days now. I know you're all like whatever, but yeah, for us it was a lot of snow. I got like 3 or 4 feet in my backyard. Mad Piranha's in the house. Welcome. Mr. Peacock, representing Accurus and Aragon. What's up, man? Glad to have you. And everybody else that's out there that hasn't commented yet, please drop a comment in so that we can say hi to you too, because we love all of our viewers. You guys are awesome. All right, now back to Harbottle. Now, so you make products. What kind of products are you guys into? Well, I mean, what's your deal right now?
Well, right now we have subwoofers.
I like subwoofers.
That's what we started out with. Actually, OEM distributing for our subwoofers through different channels and manufacturing and stuff, and through COVID-19 and all the rest of that stuff that happened in the last year and a half, we have kind of found ourselves at a point where we can develop our own product and start punching out our own lines. So we have the C24 and the C18 subwoofers. They're carbon fiber composite with Baltic birch, and they're designed in such a way so that the carbon fiber actually acts as a compression device on the Baltic underneath. So it's externally braced as well as internally braced. And
that's cool.
That's really interesting because the behavior of carbon fiber and the resins that are used actually impact the Baltic, getting a little bit deeper into the first layer of the Baltic. So
the carbon fiber impregnates the Baltic and it fuses and becomes something
the resin
new?
does. The resin does. The carbon fiber is a structure that the resin locks into above the Baltic. So the resin is the thing that binds it all together. So instead of having like a veneer where it's laid on top and you have a glue that's kind of soaks in but it holds the veneer, it actually works to dampen externally the enclosure. So you kind of get this interesting effect where On a structural engineering level, you're working with working against the loads created inside the box from the driver, if that makes sense. Like it's pushing on the box, and so the bracing inside is trying to hold it in, but we actually have bracing on the outside that's compressing it and holding it in shape. So that's a really interesting feature, the carbon fiber aspect. Now we're coming out with a set of bookshelf speakers, the C7s. I have the prototype in my house that we use regularly, and we're coming with C7-2s, which is a floor standing speaker. They're both very low tune, but they conform to, we're going to get into this a little bit later, the LDLC engineering model. So they're low tuned. They put out a lot of audio, but they really capture the essence of high performance that we talked about earlier.
Now, are those going to be? Does anything with the C name mean that it's a carbon fiber exterior design?
Yeah, it's just something that I used to identify the idea when I first came up with it a number of years ago, and I actually use CS in all my notes, and I just dropped the S because I was like carbon series, and I just had a whole bunch of ideas underneath that. I dropped the S and just started calling everything, C18, C7, C whatever, and then it just kind of carried through. I was like, well, there's no need to change it because everything internally in my business is already that notation. So
yeah, I'm looking forward
to keeping it straightforward.
I'm looking forward to the C32. Yeah, that's what
there's a distinct possibility that it might happen. It's crazy though. It's crazy. Like we build crazy, and the 32-inch that Nathan and I have been playing around with for the last few years that's crazy.
Cool. I just made that up off the top of my head, but it's cool that it's like maybe a thing. That's interesting.
32 and 48, but it's another level. Like the C24L3 scares me. Like it's a scary subwoofer, and I don't really want to listen to the 32 and the 48. It's like, oh boy, that's so much.
Yeah, I've seen a 32 at the last CDS show. I forget the name of the company that had one on display, but dude, it's massive. A 48. Oh my god, it's 4 feet tall. I mean, that's
a lot.
It's like up to here.
That's a lot of bass.
That's a lot of speaker and a lot of cone and a lot of, I don't know, a lot of moving dollies to get it around. I assume it would have to be sealed because a ported enclosure for that would be like, a room. It's not feasible.
That would be a permanent fixture in like a big, stadium or something like that. They would just like cast it into the concrete floor, and that would be the end of it.
Well, I'm down with that. That's absolutely cool. All right, so you mentioned something that I think we should probably talk about, and that's the LDLC, and that's 4 letters, and I don't think I didn't know anything about it until you told me about it. So I imagine there are a lot of people out there that don't know what that is either. So what is that? I mean, what does that stand for, and what's the point?
Well, LDLC started off as just a way for Nathan and I to talk about what we're doing and kind of give ourselves a data point. It's probably the world's most boring acronym. It's low distortion, low compression. And that's what we designed to. So internally in our manufacturing, engineering, design work, all of that stuff, we determined that distortion has to be below the audible limit, as close as you can get to maximum output as possible. So it only becomes audibly distorted when the speaker is at its, like right at its threshold, like as tight as you can get to 100% output. And that's when it starts to become audibly distorted. And the same goes for compression. What we determined to be audible compression is, essentially 1 dB. So, but I mean, it's kind of a sliding scale, so you got to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. because there's, the impression of loud, and then there's actual measured SPL loud. So, what you're feeling, what you're hearing, it's a little bit of a moving target as you move through the frequency range. So the LDLC acronym dictates our design construct. So when you buy a speaker from us, you can expect that it will achieve its theoretical without any distress. So what it can put out theoretically, that's what it's designed to do. And in some cases, it exceeds it. So it's not uncommon for our speaker systems to put out 100 to 125% of what they can do theoretically. And where LDLC comes in as, kind of like the very interesting alternative in subwoofer speak, is that our speakers, our subwoofers are able to image. Now, a lot of people will say, well, bass is omnidirectional, so it doesn't really matter. But there's omnidirectional, and then there's actual imaging. And in our product line, we just finished that beta testing on a remote tune service. So people that have our product, I can tie into them from my office here in this room, actually, and start tuning their system if they have a microphone and all the rest of that stuff. And the common feedback is, wow, like every once in a while I could hear the subwoofer, like I'd be able to pinpoint it. But now it's just like a wall of bass. Like there's no way to tell where it's coming from. It's just there. And that's what LDLC does. And when you remove the distortion and compression component as much as you possibly can, as much as physics will allow you to, you allow the speaker to behave more like a high quality mid-range or a high quality mid-bass or tweeter or whatever, and it can throw and project sound into a space and give you a sense of depth and give you a sense of a broader sound stage. So LDLC infuses that character into typically, drivers that you wouldn't expect would be able to do that. Big 18-inch, 24-inch, 21-inch subwoofers. And there's the character difference. So kind of the punchline is, low distortion, low compression is how we gauge and determine high performance. And that's what we aspire to. It's always our next goal. How can we make this better? How can we make this cooler? How can we really, build something that, is end game in the truest sense of the word, not just in status or size or form factor or whatever, but like really in terms of performance. How can we make this an end game product?
Just be careful when you say end game, because that was responsible for the death of Iron Man, and nobody likes that. There's no love. Now, so your subs. So you guys build also raw drivers, right? So if someone wanted to buy a driver from you, your product line is called Ridgeline, is that right?
Yeah, the Ridge Audio components.
Ridge Audio?
Or Ridge Audio products. Nathan and I share that product line. So I named it Ridge Audio because I live in the mountains. And
right on. Yeah, there's a lot of places here in Colorado called 5280, so I get it.
And so the Ridge Audio line, you can take part in a group buy, or you can contact me directly and fire up your own group buy for a set of drivers or a driver that you're particularly interested, or you have a few friends and you kind of want to build your own thing. Or we're totally open with that. I had a customer not that long ago fire one up for we call it the M3C24. It's tagged in AVS as the 24 VUHD. So it's home theater directed massive neodymium magnet 24-inch monster. And yeah, so like we like to work with our customer base and offering a lot of our product that you normally wouldn't be able to get just, going to the website, point and click and that whatnot, because, ultimately group buy is a better value for the customer.
Totally. I totally agree.
If you can get that, then, I don't have to pay for marketing, and I don't believe in huge marketing budgets to begin with. It really inflates the end cost of the product, which, like you need to do stuff like this and create some, content and get out there. But at the same time, how far do you want to go with it? And another reason group buys are great is it allows a real tight sense of community, which I'm a big fan of when it comes to audio, because the audio community, although, you can kind of get into some competition, I guess you'd want to call it, or where conversations start to get a little bit polarized. That ultimately everybody is there because it is a experience that they enjoy or they want to share with other people. So I personally love group buys for that reason. It creates community and offers exceptional value.
Right on. So I'm gonna pull up the Harbottle website here so people can see some of this stuff. Let's see if I can get this tab going. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's make this full screen. All right. So we got, let's see. All right, Ridge speaker drivers. Let's take a look at this good stuff. We got so you've got the PR and the 18 VSs and the 21 VSs and the XR. What's the difference in those things?
PR is just a passive radiator, so it's just a straight ahead cone surround with some suspension and weight on it for passive radiator designs. The
VS, 18 VS?
The VS that's a studio driver. It's what we would determine as a product that you could use for, I guess, like reference level listening when you want like a really nice clean response. You don't really want a whole lot of super low end to kind of inflate the bottom end of whatever content you're listening to. But you want really good mid and really good top end bass and a higher than average crossover point. That allows you to take the stress off of your main speakers while maintaining a nice degree of separation between the two in your crossover selection, so they sum together really well. So you take the stress off of it, but you also gain a whole bunch by having them sum together really well. So the 18 VS and the 21 VS, they really nail that down really well. The 21 VS puts out very much the same, a little bit more in the top end than the 18, but the 21 has about 3 dB more in the bottom end, so it kind of fills out your low end range there.
Right on.
Yeah,
and then you have the VX. All right, so the
excursion series.
Yeah, so you've got the PR18, we talked about that, the 18 VS and 21 VS, then an 18 VX.
Okay, so the excursion series, that's a underhung motor design, so it's designed for long throw, like there's a ton of travel. And what it does is, well, like the sound character of what we build is generally the same across the board. When you start talking about different drivers, you talk about their output ability and their frequency response. So the 18VX, I would typically cross it over maximum about 100 hertz. And then it really starts to fill out the bottom end. So you gain a whole bunch of more output in the very low end, as opposed to the 18VS, which you can cross over up to, well, I have one customer that crosses it over at 167.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, so like you can go really, really high with the studio series. The excursion series, typically, I guess you would call it more of a home theater application, but there's a lot of guys that use it for music too, because they got really big mains that are very capable,
Mhm.
and they can throw it out really well. So this type of speaker would, match that type of purpose a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that 19.5 hertz FS. So that's cool.
Yeah, she's deep.
She absolutely. All right, and then you got the Big Daddy, the 24
Mhm.
VXR. It gets 3 letters.
Yeah, that's an infinite baffle. There's a VXR. That's what I call the excursion reference edition. So it's where you want all the low end, and you don't want to be hindered by anything. But when you get to that level, one option that is, I wouldn't say it's overlooked, but it's a little bit more advanced, I guess, would be an infinite baffle design.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this underhung infinite baffle driver that's purpose built for that application, and it runs unbelievably clean. Like for its size and for its ability, just in general, it punches so unbelievably well. Like
That's cool.
it's way above its weight in my personal opinion. I mean, I'm biased, so take that with a grain of salt. But,
Well, I would expect you to be biased, so that's all good. All right, so we're going to pause there for just a second. So we got some more folks on. Callie J, who is I think new, welcome, and the Brown Cinema. He says, "What's up, Jeremy Gary?" I'm not sure who. Oh, I guess that's Jeremy Schumer or Schurter, who likes to bring the secret sauce. He always, I guess, brings the secret sauce. And then Callie J says, "Do your 12-inch and 15-inch hit as hard as the 18 for home theater use? Do you guys make 12s and 15s?"
we do have some concepts available, yes. The tricky thing is that they have a little bit higher MOQ, so minimum order quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So we can sell them, but we can only sell them in 6s and 12s and stuff like that until we get the ball rolling on them. We are planning on doing some work on them this spring and fall to kind of shore up the low, the smaller driver range. I have a plan for using 1 or 2 of them in a Carbon Series finish subwoofer. But as far as hitting as hard as the 18, well, yes and no. It really depends on what application you're going for, what design you're going for, and like as far as cleanliness and being able to put out like 100% of their theoretical output with minimal distortion, minimal compression. Yes, 100%. They conform to LDLC all day long, every day. But you are going to notice a little bit less in the low end because you don't have the cone area to push that volume of air. So when you're still working with 25, 27 millimeters of X max and 30 or so millimeters of X mechanical, which is where we designed to the mechanical limit, the 12-inch can only put out so much in the low end. But as far as your mid bass and your upper mid bass, that the 12s and 15s will absolutely hit every bit as hard.
They'll get jiggy with it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So some comments. Hi-Fi Haven says those are some awesome looking drivers. I agree, they do look good. I like the styling of them, and I like the way they look outside of the box too with the motor assembly. Mad Prana says someone needs to do a group buy. Well, Cody does group buys all the time, and if you need me to help facilitate getting you in contact, or if anybody's watching that wants to be part of a group buy and you don't know how to do that, you can reach out to me and I will point you to the right direction of where that's going to be happening at, and get you in contact with the folks that can help facilitate and get you in on the action, because we're going to talk about some other products here in a minute that I think are really good for group buys. The raw drivers are awesome, but that takes me to another product area that I want to talk about, which is the M series. So what's up with the M series for folks that don't know?
The M series, the backstory behind that is I was contacted by now a customer in San Francisco that was just looking for a straight ahead enclosure to house one of our drivers, and we ended up doing the design for him, a CL box, and he didn't want any finish attached to it. And so I was working with it a little bit, and I was working with in concert with a couple of contractors, and it kind of worked really well in tandem that this is, a nice tidy solution for a built-in subwoofer or, home listening, stereo, 2.1, whatever you want, that allows you to finish the sub yourself, because it's just raw Baltic birch, but it's sanded and prepped and ready for paint. So you just scuff it with some 400 grit and you're good to go. We'll pull the driver and stuff first, but
yeah, don't paint the driver.
Yeah, don't paint the driver. It'll mess up his parameters. It won't work very well.
It'll change the way it puts out sound. All right, let me see if I can. I got a request to bring the M series up. So here's hoping there's one on the website.
Yeah, if you go to speaker kits.
There we go. Here's not a real picture of it, but I can pull up a real picture. So maybe you could walk everybody through that design real quick. I'm going to run over to let's see if I can find your Instagram, because I know you got a real picture there. So how big are these boxes? How big is this M18 box?
I have to bring it up myself. Just let me find it.
Come on, man.
I can't see it on my screen.
All right, so Harbottle Audio. All right, so let's here. I'm going to share this. This is the good stuff. These are the pretty pictures. Share.
Okay, so the enclosure specs, it's 111 liters internal volume, and for our American friends, it's 28.3465 inches tall.
I was going to say, what's a liter? That's what soda comes in.
Exactly. I decided to go with 4 decimal points because I'm a little bit retentive like that. The depth is 16 inches, a touch over, and width is 20 inches, 20 and a half inches wide. So and
I've got a picture of it now, so everybody can see what they look like.
Cool. So essentially, it's a flush mount enclosure. It's all mitered construction, very well braced. If you look at the drawing that I have on the website, you can see all the bracing and everything in there. We use a specific bracing method so that we tie the baffle to the sides to the back, so they're all braced, with minimum on 3 sides per section, you'd call it. So everything is tied together. And like I said, Baltic birch, miter construction. The front baffle is 1.5 inches thick, so it's a double 3/4 ply, and it accepts most 18-inch drivers. So you're not really limited to ridge drivers. You can use, Dayton. You can use Vitel Pro. You can use whatever you like to fit in there, just as long as the cutout and the mounting depth fall within spec. And mounting depths and cutouts are all listed under the specifications as well. So our goal with this enclosure is to build something that is A, really good quality, and B, can be mounted and positioned built into a theater or a listening room if you're looking to, to hide your gear basically. And, if you really, really wanted to, you could actually bolt them together. I don't really recommend it, but it's, been an idea that a few customers have had. And I'm not sure if they've had great success, but if you can, put them together and make a wall of bass and mount them all together and then decouple them from your structure, you can have something pretty formidable, especially if you're running, some fairly decent sized rack amps, which, is very typical in the home theater, design space. So it's designed to be as versatile as it can be as a DIY solution, but take the quality control that's needed to house an LDLC driver that produces top end bass and low end bass equally well, and keep everything contained and keep everything tight and controlled. And that's where we take our own construction expertise and build the enclosure for the customer. So they have a degree of customization attached to it. They can do whatever they want with it, and just as long as they mount the driver and the speak-on connector well, so there's no leaks, after they're done painting, they'll be absolutely awesome. And then as far as the price point and what it's designed to do, I think it represents very, very good value for what the product is and the landscape that is currently available. There isn't a whole lot of pre-built out there.
There's really not. I mean, there's some kits, but this one's kind of cool because all you really need to do is finish it. And for folks that are looking for a really good cost point that is also customizable, that doesn't take a lot of effort, this is kind of a good way to go if that's what you're looking for. So one question.
Go ahead.
One question just a few minutes ago from Double A, and welcome to the party, Double A, by the way. He asked if are you guys ever going to do architectural speakers? I mean,
we have thought about it, and I do have some concepts in the background, but it is a little bit of a ways off. I'd probably say it's about 2 years out before we start coming up with an architectural line. That has been on my mind since we started kicking this thing off. Because, well, Giles, I mean, like, be honest, architectural speakers, they are the way to go.
Oh, they're awesome. I just put in 4 architectural speakers in my ceiling. I love it.
Yeah, if you're doing dedicated architectural, like, why not, right? You're already building the space, or if you're okay with modifying your space. Yeah, so no, that is something that we are gonna have to address at some point for sure. Yeah.
Callie J asked if you're going to ever make a M15 as opposed to the M18.
Oh, I'm seriously on the fence about that. I would love to. The problem is that the way we build enclosures, the price doesn't scale down. So I mean, like, this box is $400 Canadian, which is like what, 35 cents US.
I'll quote you on that one day when I need to buy 3 or 4 of them from you.
No,
I got it on tape. It's 35 cents.
This conversation is non-binding.
Okay.
The price point doesn't scale the way that I would like it to. So in order to do a 15, you really have to visit the process for building 15. So, like, realistically, from a manufacturing standpoint, we're looking at probably building about a dozen different boxes, a dozen different ways, just to see, and sit there with a stopwatch, just to see which method will work the best and get the best results. And, put us in a time bracket that, we could say, okay, yeah, this value at the end, like the dollar that we're asking for it, is going to fit, manufacturing demands. So that's going to take a little bit of work, but I don't know what's going to happen with Baltic birch. The price of birch has gone up, and that's kind of where we've deadheaded with it. When you're dealing with a manufacturer, we're subject to all the markets of raw materials, right? So, neodymium's going up, steel, aluminum, copper, everything, and even carbon fiber is, starting to, get a little bit unstable. And Baltic is, definitely one of those things that has been, I wouldn't say problematic, but it's one of those things that bears watching in our business. So I think, for 15, we're probably going to scale that or kind of put that in the back burner for a few months and see what happens, midsummer, and see how things start to progress. But I'm not sure that it would be a viable option at this point.
So the translation of that for everybody is 15s are for people who don't really care about their bass, and Cody cares about his bass. No. 18s and up only. Thank you very much.
Liar.
Okay, so here's another question. And I got to figure out how to translate this one. Can you larger with the maybe means can you go larger with the M18 box? Would there be a benefit if so? So you build the M18 box at the current volume that it is now, so many liters, whatever it is. If you change that box, those dimensions to make it bigger, and maybe this is a design question. So what happens when you make the box bigger or smaller for any given driver? So you're changing that internal volume.
You start changing the low end efficiency. So this driver or this box with any of our drivers, bridge drivers, basically what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I'm looking for a little bit more efficiency in the low end, which is why I went to the size that I did. It's bigger than the counterpart, the Funk Audio 18.0. It's physically larger, which it makes it easier to get to Xmax or XMEC, mechanical with lower power. So if you get this is purely designed for the average Joe. Like I am an average Joe. Like I DIY myself because this is my business. I do everything myself, and well, Nathan helps sort of.
Not really though.
No, I would be lost without him. No. Nathan, if you're watching, I love you, man.
Nathan's over there right now. He's all like, I'm taking my tools and I'm packing them up. I'm out.
You're cut off.
I can't work like this.
So this is designed for the everyday guy that's, like they got $1,000 to drop on an amp. And, it's probably not super clean power, but there's a bunch of it. So using a bigger box with the driver that we have, you get more of the low end. So depending on the driver and the system design, it's about like 2,100 watts with a VS driver, and that's pretty doable for a lot of pro audio style amplifiers. So going to a larger box, you start getting into diminishing returns. Now, do we have plans to go to like a 21 or a 24? Yes, I do. I ran into a couple of limitations just on time, just because we got slammed with a whole bunch of work, and I wasn't able to get the 21 out when I wanted to, so we had to push that one back. But the 24s seem to be, pretty popular, so we're, looking at the idea of building M series for 21s and 24s, and then if you go through my website, you'll see that I offer bass kits as well. So those.
Tell us about the bass kit. What is that? Okay,
so basically it's I I'm trying to make the two subs and an amplifier work. Pricing isn't really in my favor right now, so right now we're working with 3s and 4s. So there's the 3/4 bass kit, which is 3 subs and a 3-channel amplifier, Harbottle amp, and then there's the full bass kit, which is 4 subs, like 4 M18s with drivers and a 4-channel amp. And amps are loaded with DSP, and you can buy an optional remote tuning service. So if you go for the remote tune, we schedule it up, and we cross some T's, dot some I's, and then I hack into your computer and start tuning start messing around with your subwoofers and timing them out, and getting delays set, and then start creating EQ profiles. So typically a customer will walk away with about 11 or so different EQ profiles depending on their listening preferences and style. And the bass kit is pretty wicked, because you're looking at essentially taking the Funk 18-0 or the C18. They behave a little bit differently. I have a different design style than Nathan does, and you're looking at multiplying that by 4 and removing all the finishing costs, which is a big chunk, because I don't know what it's like for costs to run a finishing booth and all of that down in the US, but up here there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape that you have to go through in order to make that happen. So it gets quite costly. When you take that out of the equation, you're looking at some pretty serious value for dollar there.
I couldn't even imagine 4 M18s one day. So the secret word on the street is I might be making some content around one of these at some point in the not too distant future, so folks can really see what's going on. But down the line, maybe I'll come up on some cash and just be like, hey man, here's a check, send me 3 more. I gotta have it. That'd be kind of cool. 4 of those right across the front of the room under your screen, and you're done.
Yeah, it would be seriously impressive.
That's the business. I think that's the precise technical term. That would be the business.
For home theater guys, like guys that want a dedicated room, that takes care of so much in terms of scalability and design and everything. Like I think it's a really interesting offering. I'm proud of myself for thinking of it.
And if anybody out there wants to be the first with 4 of these, let us know, and send a check over to Cody, and he'll make sure you get the good stuff, and that'd be awesome. Okay, so I have one more question before I move on to some of our other content sections of the show today, because we've been pounding through this time, and we're tearing it up. So you mentioned amplifiers, and that's not something that comes to mind immediately when I think of Harbottle, right? I think subwoofers, I think carbon fiber, and I've seen some of the pictures of some of this other stuff that you're working on, which is really, really cool, and I can't wait till that stuff sees the daylight. But I don't what's up with these amps, because I don't know anything about that. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I can. They're modular.
What is it?
So
you put them together and they're like Legos, or how does that work?
Well, for us they are. We made them so that a customer, like if you want, let's say a 2-channel amp to drive some subwoofers, okay, well I want this 2-channel amp. All right, so you get it, you get the DSP and all the rest of the goodies with it. Okay, now you got your bass covered. Now let's say you come into some cash later on down the road and you want to invest in power for your front stage. So your LCR, you want some more juice to drive it. And you don't really, want to invest in more rack space, or your rack space is tight or whatever else. With our amp, you can send it back and we can install a front stage set. So
I
three
got you.
channels, typically 3x500, so 500 watts per. So there's lots there for any number of upgrades that you'd want to do to your speakers or your front stage in general. And
500 watts is a lot of power.
Oh yeah, it's no joke. RMS, that's not peak. So 1,000 watts peak. And what I found with a lot of my customer base is they're not really interested in having DSP, for their front stage. They're more interested in DSP, digital signal processing, for their subwoofers, because their AVR, or their pre-pro, allows them a lot of control over their front stage anyway, with all the correction and tuning that is typically available
like
nowadays.
Dirac or Odyssey or whatever it might be.
Exactly, whatever floats your boat, whatever you've invested in. So we can do a power section only for your front stage and a DSP section for your subwoofers, all in the same amp. Or if you want to upgrade to more subwoofers, we can just simply add more subwoofer channels.
That's what I like to hear right there. More subwoofers. How many maximum channels per chassis?
For subwoofers, you're looking at 4 channels. So the subwoofer modules will fit 4 of them, and that's 2,200 each. And
God, 8,800
RMS, and you can actually upgrade the power to 2,400 per. There's an optional upgrade for 200 more wattage edited.
And then if you're not doing subs and you're like, I just want a theater amplifier for surrounds and front soundstage, how many can you jam into a chassis there?
8 channels.
8 channels
into one chassis.
How many rack units tall is it? 2, 3, 4?
Oh,
well, let me ask this question: Is it rack mount?
16, no, it's not rack mount.
Okay.
It's a very pretty little box with feet. It's about 6 inches tall.
Got it. Will it help if I buy like $800 isolation super feet to make it levitate or something? Will it sound better? Now, don't answer that question. That's for a different show.
Really want to?
that's for a different show. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on and talk about a few other things. However, if folks have more questions for Mr. Harbottle around subwoofers and just design in general, I mean, this guy knows what's going on. And, it's really cool to have an opportunity to ask these questions and kind of hear from the source. And that's what's cool about this show, because you really get to talk to these folks that are in the lab producing these products and designing this stuff. And, it's an experience that, being exposed to this is really cool that I've not had before. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and all the conversations that we have had outside of the show. But now I want to move on to the headphone of the week. And, I've in the future, I've got a new set of headphones coming in from Hi-Fi Man, and they're really cool. They're finally, I don't know if finally is the right term, but they're going to do a closed back version of some of their stuff. And they have that both in dynamic and planar magnetic, which is going to be cool. But today I'm wearing a pair of my tried and true headphones, the Model Price M570s, open back planar magnetics. $250, man, really good stuff. And zebra wood. That's all just zebra wood. And they will play at 5 hertz. So if you've got some really deep bass, give them a shot and see what happens. You can actually hear it, man. It's really good. So that is the headphone of the week. And now this is the section that I'm always waiting for. Now, let's take a break and stroll down to a cozy little place I like to call Content Corner. This is where we talk about all the cool content we love to consume. And today, I'm going to tell you all about shameless. I need an echo box to make that sound right. I can't do it with my voice. Shameless. So, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Shameless, but then I'm going to talk about how crazy this week is going to be, because this is a freaking crazy week in content for me, because I love superheroes and it's going down. But Shameless, 11 seasons on Showtime, based off of a British show also called Shameless. It's fronted by William H. Macy, and it's the story of this crazy family. I think it's in Chicago, and all of the shenanigans that these folks get down to, and they get down to shenanigans. This is not, a family-friendly television show at all. It's like an F-bomb, like every other sentence, and people are high and drunk and stoned and passed out and just all kinds of stuff. And it's hardcore. If you want to know what it's like to be in Chicago in America, this is totally real. Totally. They wouldn't exaggerate at all. But it's hilarious. It's like a dramedy almost. But season 11 is the end for the show. And I'm sad. I watched like the first 5 seasons, I don't know, like 3 years ago. And then I waited for them to finish. And now they're finishing up season 11. I'm like, okay, I've got to watch it all. So I watched the rest of it. And now I'm doing it episode by episode. And it's all exciting right now because they're trying to decide if they're going to sell the house or not. And I know that doesn't sound really cool, but are they going to sell the house? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Let's find out. But that, while being cool, has been eclipsed because this week, does anybody know what cool stuff is coming out this week? Anybody hear of a guy named Schneider before? Anybody hear of something called Justice League? Yes. The new cut, the 4-hour cut, is coming out, I think, on Thursday, streaming on, whatever, streaming on HBO Max. And I am extremely super duper extra excited. And I don't know how I'm going to squeeze this in on Thursday, 4.5 hours of DC superhero goodness, but I'm going to squeeze it in, and it's coming. Not only do we get that movie this week, but we also get Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? So that'll be on Disney Plus, I believe, and I'm super looking forward to that. And unlike WandaVision, which just completed not too long ago, this is going to be like superhero action from the very beginning. So this is like more of like a Marvel movie, but in television form, as opposed to an art piece that then turns into a Marvel movie in the last episode, which is what happened in WandaVision. Now, WandaVision was great because, spoiler, they resurrect Vision, right? Which is cool, because we were all sad to see him go. I'm just waiting for them to resurrect Iron Man and then bring back Captain America because, they killed both of them off. Thanks a lot. No thanks at all. Damn you. That's all I get. Robert Downey Jr., he can be 75. I don't care. Let him be Iron Man because he is Iron Man.
He'll always be Iron Man.
He'll always be Iron Man. So, those two things are coming up this week, and I plan to do probably a blow by blow every week on one of the shows. And I don't. Bad Pro says Cap isn't dead; he's just old. Dude, you're right. he's just old. You're totally right. Oh gosh. So Joey Peacock says, I saw a tweet today from Zack Snyder apologizing about something concerning the release. Anyone know what? I do know that there was a accident on the HBO Max side when people attempted to stream Tom and Jerry. They were actually streaming Justice League. So they're like, we're going to watch a cartoon. Come on, kids. And then, I'm Superman. I'll kill you and rip your eyes out. Let me burn you in half and let me chop you down with a sword. And the kids are like, oh, no, Daddy, why? So I know that happened, Joey. That could be what he was talking about. If he was going to apologize for anything, it should be the aspect ratio that he's put this movie in. But if he's not going to apologize for that, then that's maybe what he's apologizing about. But we'll talk more about this as time goes by. But this is the new golden age of television and I would say movies, but movies have been dead for a while. So hopefully they'll come back next year. We'll limp along this year and it'll be okay. But this is really the golden age of of television content. You know, all the Marvel stuff, like a billion Star Wars television shows coming out. Then you've got great independents like The Expanse. Oh, so good. You got to watch The Expanse. And then other stuff that I would never really watch, but my wife makes me watch it, and then I like it. We've just started watching Clarice, which is the next step in the Hannibal Lecter set of stuff. And it's pretty good. Anyway, so, you know, I was talking to Cody. Cody's like, I work. I don't have time to watch all this television stuff. And I'm like, I have to have my content. This is the fun stuff. Mad Prana says he apologized for maybe not putting in the black and white version first. That could totally be it. So maybe because did Zack Snyder do? Oh, what was the movie that they made a long time ago that they did in black and white as well as color? I don't know. He's done a bunch of stuff, but and Joey says he's seeing stuff going 2:1 aspect ratio more often. You're totally right. I don't know if I like that trend, but it's definitely a trend. So I don't know. So Cody, now, no, understanding that you don't watch television.
I do.
And you don't like movies.
I do. I love movies. I don't have a lot of time to do it.
Dude, as long as you keep building the subwoofers, we're okay with that.
I hope so.
Don't stop. Just stay focused.
Well, I do have to actually watch content. I do have to get involved with, you know, latest trends as much as I can, because what good is building a subwoofer that, you know, can't handle the new stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Or a speaker that can't handle the new stuff. So that is part of it. I haven't watched a whole lot recently. I've been watching a little bit of Elementary. I like that show.
That's the one with what's that lady's name?
Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. Thank you. Oh God, it was gone. And it's like a mystery show, and it's like a modern Sherlock Holmes. Is that right?
Yeah. So modern Sherlock Holmes, and I really like the intro music to it. It sounds really good on my speakers. But you know, it's I like the mystery aspect, the powers of observation, and all that type of stuff. As far as music goes, my wife Caitlin Harbottle has been creating a Harbottle Audio playlist for any of our followers and for me while I'm working.
Well, that's cool. So where can we find this playlist at?
It's available on Spotify, and just look up Harbottle Audio and it'll show up. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, no, it's good. It's an interesting take on like what, you know, what she kind of, you know, feels that, you know, music should be like or represent when it comes to our equipment. So the biggest push behind Harbottle Audio is actually her. She's the one who fired the whole thing up. She told me, you should start an audio company. Let's talk to Nathan about it. And then, you know, it was all her idea. So she, you know, it's hers basically. It's named after her. That's her last name. It's not my last name. Hebert Audio would be terrible. But she, so she's getting engaged with our audience that way, and kind of giving them, you know, just a little bit of flavor of what we're doing and what we, you know, aspire our music to sound like through our gear and what works well on our equipment. So it's an interesting thing. I like it. You know, I think it's pretty cool.
Cool, man. All right, well, now I'm gonna clue people in on what's coming up next. So you know, I'm actively almost done filming this video, this thing. So Rune has taken over my life, and I wanted a touch screen Rune endpoint, a Rune bridge that was inexpensive, and there wasn't one in existence, so I just built one. And it's just using off-the-shelf parts, you know, Raspberry Pi with a Raspberry Pi touchscreen, the RoPi software that you can download, and you just put it all together, and it magically works. And it actually sounds really good. You know, I use an external DAC, and I think that's really where all the magic's at, having a really good piece of equipment to do that digital to analog conversion for you. But I'm putting the finishing touches on that video, and that will be coming out in about a month from now or something like that. And I'm almost done with a video for one of your competitors, SVS. So they've got this cool, those guys. They've got a little 12 that I just love. I think it's great. It's not going to rip the floor out from underneath you and play down to 10 hertz or anything, but it's a nice sub. So the app is kind of cool for especially the broad consumer base, that folks that aren't going to really dig in and be like, okay, I've got a real processor, I got all this stuff, but it lets you tweak the sub and get it pretty decent. So there'll be some content coming out around that as well. So that's exciting. Now this week's video coming out on Friday is a video where I feature 7 different subwoofers, and I measure them all, and we look at a lot of REW measurements. So if you like REW, this is going to be the video for you, because we just look at lots and lots and lots of them. I'm not going to get into it too deep right now, but if that's the kind of thing that floats your boat and you want to see, how they curve out, come and see. And there's like all kinds of brands, DIY and consumer and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Also, I want to call out that as far as group buys go, the first amplifier group buy has completed, and that equipment is shipping now. And if anybody's interested in getting on group buy number 2, we're going to see. It might be too close to group buy number 1. I might need to space them out a little bit more, but that'll be up, and you can find that on all the normal social media places that I post stuff at. So that'll be out there. And speaking of social media, I want to thank everybody that's been watching tonight. We were clipping, over 30. Hang on, Mad Proud's like, what, 7 subs? It's like 3 DIY kits and a SVS sub and some Velodyne and some Martin Logan. So there's a bunch. There'll be a cool thumbnail that has all of them in there. And yes, REW for future reference is always good. But back to social media. Thanks to everybody that's been watching. We were pushing up on 30 concurrent folks, so we probably hit 100 people more tonight as they popped in and out, which is pretty awesome. And then this will scale out to thousands over the next month as this thing percolates out there and everybody's like, "Ooh, Harbottle, I gotta know about it. I gotta watch this thing. That's so good." If you could, you've got this thing open in YouTube right now. Click that button down at the bottom that says subscribe. And I'm looking at you, all of you that aren't subscribed. You make me sad and you break my heart. So just do it, man. Come do it. Do it for Cody. Do it for the children. Do it for yourself. Next week on the show, we're going to have David Solomon, and he'll be on, and he is going to once and for all tell us how you pronounce the name of the company he works for. Spelled Qobuz. And is it Qobuz? Is it Quobuz? Is it Quobuz? Nobody really knows. So we are going to find out next week exactly how to say the name of this streaming service. And, talking about things that changed my life, this streaming service, along with Rune and some good equipment, that has done it. I really like the way it integrates with Rune, and Rune gives you all these suggestions to all this new music. Cody, have you ever played with Rune before? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have. It's fun.
Dude, it's so cool. I'll think of a song I like. I'll search for it. Of course, I won't have media for it, but hey, Qobuz has got it, and I can stream it, so I can listen to it. And then Rune will say, "Hey, check this next song out," and I'm all like, "They're reading my mind. How did they know? It's so good. It's so and then the next one's even better than the last." I don't know. Anyway, so that's kind of what's coming up in the future for the channel. Let's see, any other things out there from the folks. Mad Prana says he needs to get subs that can handle Edge of Tomorrow bass intro without dying painfully. I agree. That's a great way to blow up subs, especially ported ones. If your bass reflex, you gotta be careful with that sometimes. But I feel pretty confident that the M18 can put a hurt on Edge of Tomorrow. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, the VXR driver.
Uh-huh.
One of those two. Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
It would shake everything really
that's
well,
that's
depending on
how
the size of your room, right? Like, the system design, depending on the volume that you're working with. But one or two of those, generally speaking,
that's
would be a lot of fun.
that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
I,
And
s- I saw a comment, Matt Piranha, where does Cody see HT going in the near future? Loaded question. That's a loaded
I don't even
question.
see
What
that
do
one.
you think, Giles? Where do you
What was the
see
question? I
HT
don't even
going?
see that one.
7:54 p.m. It's up a little ways. Where
Oh,
does
okay.
Cody see HT tech going in the near future? What do you think about that, Giles?
Oh, I can't even get up there. So Cody CHE Tech. What? Dude, I'm not
Where
following.
did where does Cody see HT home theater tech going in the
Oh,
near
okay.
future?
Yeah, dude, predict the future. So what do you think? Where's home
Oh,
theater going to be in the future? What's the next hot thing? I was trying to take that words and translate it into some kind of product. I'm like, what is that? Oh, but yeah, in general, what do you think?
what I've always thought is that with demands on space, like real estate and power grids, all the rest of that stuff,
Hmm.
the gear needs to become more efficient. You need to
Okay.
be able to do less. You need to be able to do less with more. No. You need to be able to do more with less. So like 118 should be able to do everything that it should be, you know, theoretically capable of doing.
Right.
And that's kind of where my mindset's been. But as far as technology goes, like, Raspberry Pi that you're making, stuff like that, like customizable uh, end user products, DIY taken to another level. That's that's I think that's the meal ticket right there. Because there's just so much really good content out there. No matter what your tastes are, and being able to access it and being able to work with it in an efficient space. A lot of people don't have physical room available to play or to house all kinds of physical media. you know and also just raw accessibility and tunability, being able to adjust and manipulate your system. I think that's where my mind goes anyway. So is it right? No, probably not.
I like that. I like the concept of not having to have humongous devices to do things and have them be efficient and work at full capability so that you don't leave a lot on the table. There's
Yeah.
something to be said for headroom, but you don't need too much headroom. You just need to be able to get the job done, precisely the way it needs to be done, and then you don't have to waste money. And I've always had a hard time with that because I always want to overbuild things that put in so much capacity that I don't even come close to even scraping the surface of it. I'll be using 10% of what a system's capable of, and I'm rocking out harder than I ever wanted to be already. So I'll never turn it past 2 if you get my meaning. So
Yeah.
no, I think that's cool. So Paul asked about the PB 1000 Pro, and for folks that don't know, SVS released the PB and the SB 1000 Pro series. So they refreshed their 1000 series, moved it up from a 10-inch driver to a 12-inch driver. It put the technology from the other amplifier lines into that amp and added in the Bluetooth and all the cool bells and whistles. What do I think about it? I haven't heard it. Yeah, it's $499 price point. Not a lot of juice. I think it'll be a nice solid subwoofer in the right use case. Now, are you going to want to fire up Edge tomorrow and turn it up all the way? No, not at all. But I think it'll be capable. I think it'll be great for folks that need a sub at that price point, that don't have super demanding low end use cases, right? So as long as you're not trying to, you know, spit out 10 hertz or something at 115 decibels, then you'll be okay. It's nice. I don't want to call it a cute little subwoofer, but it's kind of like a cute little subwoofer. It looks nice and it does what it does. So it's exciting. I'll review one of them at some point in the future. And I like that there are products in the market that fill the niche that this product will fill. You just got to know what you need and whether the subwoofer is what will do what you need it to do. So that's where people get into trouble, because they're like, I want to do, this heavy lift where I need two 18s, like I need two M18s, and they're like, I'm going to buy a PB1000 Pro. Well, it's not going to do what two M18s will do. It can't, right? It's a different kind of thing. But other than that, I think it's good. Paul also says that modular custom large screens are the future. So I do think there is something to that. The only thing I don't like about the modular large screens is that you can't have a AT large modular screen with a center channel behind it, right? So it's like a big old TV. So your center channel has to go above or below, or you can do both, which is what some people will do. They'll put one above and below to kind of give it that quasi center channel, kind of like the stereo effect, right, of centers. Mm-hmm. And Joey also points out it's $499 on that sealed and $599 on the ported for the 1000 Pro. All right, I think with that we have hit the end of the road. We're 15 minutes over, and I have to say, thank you, Cody, for your time. Thank you so much for coming and telling us about your company, about your products, and stuff that I didn't even know. I didn't know you could do this modular amplifier deal, which is pretty freaking amazing, especially when you're putting almost 9,000 watts for 4 subs in a chassis. That's awesome. That's really cool.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And I think everybody should go out and really look up the C24 and the C18 and see what those look like, because they are gorgeous subwoofers. I mean, they look so damn good. I mean, it's really, really nice. But again, Cody, thank you.
You're welcome.
Love to have you back on the future and talk some more about this down the line. And everybody that's watching, thank you as well. Thanks for hanging out with us. And as always, we'll see you in the next video.